Yes, sir. Sharply at 4.
Yeah. You want me to send the link again to you, sir?
We are just waiting for one more.
Hello.
Okay.
No, not just continue.
I am Arul Jason from QCI. I have a very warm welcome to who are taking their time out of right now that Udyog Manthan in Indian industry. We have our honored he will be setting the tone and context for Dr. Ashish Kumar sir to set the context now.
It's our privilege to be here, and as you know, DPI for overall industrial development in country, and products which have been identified in India will grow exponentially with so many policy initiatives being taken. Well, this seminar, this and productivity in Indian industry, and this is one of the industry which is being taken up under this Udyog Manthan series. The objective of this seminar is to identify issues and find solutions for promoting productivity, quality, that the entire spectrum of air conditioning industry will be from the ministry side of the industry from you. However, that too with the help of the industry only. The domestic market is growing with a growth rate of 15% annually. The nuclear families, rising coupled with growing demand for residential. The important thing is the climate. Is rising, so that's why the demand of air conditioning globally is rising. As per the industry estimates, there is a potential for India to raise exports of air conditioners from the current level of 0.5% of global export market in 2019, of course, to 16% of the global export market of air conditioners, which in terms of numbers, it's around 16 to 17 million units in 2029. The exports of Indian air conditioning may be targeted primarily in our neighboring countries, in Middle East, in Africa, as well as the European country, because we understand that we have entered European market as well as market developed countries in the eastern part of globe as well. The current market size of room air conditioner is about 7 to 7.5 million units, out of which currently we are importing 33% of air conditioners. Further, there is a very high dependence on imports of components of air conditioners. The critical components like compressors, copper tubing, aluminum foils are almost totally imported. The other smaller components are also imported, but yes, we are developing our internal capability, and we have potential to develop. We do have technology with us. The room air conditioner industry and the commercial air conditioning, if we see, we have big players, both which are domestically owned as well as global companies are also in India, and they are quite successful, and they are here for more than 8 to 20 years. So they know the Indian situation and the market of India. So we really look forward for their active participation in development of this industry. As you know, India is also a member of signed an ICAP, Cooling Action Plan, which inherently induces better quality standards in the products. So the importance of quality, the importance of research and development, the importance of productivity is well recognized in the industry, and we are looking forward for more active participation of our industry to be global champions from India. Government has taken several initiatives, like we have come up with QCO, quality control orders. We have come up with, we have restricted the imports of air conditioners with refrigerants. And now recently, government is also coming up with the production linked incentive scheme. So there is a very wide opportunity for the industry to grow, and from the government side, we can assure you that government is with industry, government is working for the industry, and government will be with the industry always to be the partner of progress of this industry. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for setting the context of the webinar and also providing a wonderful overview of the AC industry in India. Now let me introduce the moderator of this session, Mr. Jitendra Bambure. Sir is an independent expert in heating, ventilating and air conditioning, refrigeration, and is presently working as advisor technology in Blue Star. He graduated in engineering from Mumbai University and also holds a diploma in management studies from Mumbai University. He joined Blue Star in 1992 and worked in various operations before taking charge of R&D in 2000. Prior to this, he was with Rallies India Limited for about 13 years in R&D. He has been an executive committee member of Rama, an association, and chairperson of ODS committee. He also interacts with BEE, Ozone Cell, and BIS. He is also a lead member of ICAP Space Cooling thematic group, and also a member of Technology and Economic Assessment Plan, RTOC Refrigerants Technology Options Committee, and which is an international expert panel formed by Ozone Secretariat. Now, sir, I request you to take over from here as the session's moderator. Bambure, sir, over to you. So you have to unmute, sir.
I was doing that. So thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Ashish Kumar, and I would like to, congratulate DPIIT and Quality Council of India for organizing this program. It is an important aspect, and the points that you have spelled up in the of what is to be discussed today are very, very relevant. Government has taken multiple steps in last 3 to 6 months to encourage the Indian industry to invest, encourage the industry to invest not only in the finished good but also in the components, have given incentives, and I'm very sure that we will support the initiative of Atmanirbhar Bharat, both in terms of Make in India and as well as for design in India and export to the countries, because we do have a natural advantage to many countries in terms of geography. Now, Dr. Ashish Kumar did say that the ICAP is the guiding document for air conditioning industry, and I would like to put a point here that sustainability will be the driving force for the regulations. And these regulations, we do have regulations in place now in energy efficiency, in refrigerants to be used, and in many other places in terms of safety. And these regulations will drive the technology. So what has happened in the whole process is that these stringent regulations is now pulling the technology. And this pulling of the technology is making R&D as a mainstream process. And this means that R&D is the starting link of the complete business process. Because if you're not able to meet the regulation, you cannot sell your products. Now, what are the challenges coming out of this? A product ready doesn't mean a product ready in R&D doesn't mean a product ready for the market. And it has to go through various phases of procuring of the material of supply chain, where a lot of MSMEs are the manufacturers of the components. Then the production process, stabilization of the production process, servicing requirements, and that is what is putting a lot of challenge on end-to-end quality and reliability. Customers are becoming very, very demanding. They want higher warranty. They want fail-safe products. And that is also means that the reliability of the product has to be very, very high. At the same time, the performance of the product has to be met as in compliance for the regulatory requirement. Now, these are all these linkages are there all these linkages are there, which are between the quality and productivity. And unless and until both the things are addressed, we cannot become competitive. If we are to export, the requirements will become more and more stringent. There is a need now. To develop a management of handling quality, and the quality has to be taken to the next level. It cannot be just an inspection process, but it has to get into a lot of automation. I'm sure that Industry 4.0 addresses it, and it also requires a lot of standards to be formed and standards to be aligned with the latest technologies. And for that, whether it is a quality, whether it is a standards, whether it is a production, or the other thing that is important is electronics is becoming an integral part of the designs, will require a lot of manpower which is skilled. It is not only the operators and the workers, but also at the level of the engineers. Today we have 10 panelists. Their combined experience is, in my estimate, more than 300 years plus, and they are all representing Indian companies, multinational companies, and they have got a very, very rich experience. And we have time and again seen that the MNCs who have established their manufacturing plants in India do bring in the best of the practices which they are following across the world. And I'm sure that all of us will get benefited from whatever the discussions will do. What I'm going to do now is we have 10 panelists, and we will go one by one. I'm requesting each of the panelists to speak for 5 to 7 minutes on his thoughts on the subject of today, and we'll keep a last half an hour. So if you take 10 panelists and about say 5 minutes or 50 minutes are gone, then we will have something like a open discussion, and then in the end we'll take the questions from the audience. We also would like to, the panelists will also try to bring up, or I will try to bring out of it, which are the 3-4 most important points that are required to be addressed. So I will now start with Mr. Srivastva Maturu. I know him for a long time. Srinivas, popularly known as Vasu, is in the industry for a very, very long time. Presently, he is a Senior General Manager R&D, Voltas Limited. He is also an active member in CMA and working closely with BIS, BE and Ozone Cell. And CMA is a Consumer Electronics Appliance Manufacturers Association. With his 25 years plus experience in air conditioning appliances, he has worked not only in R&D but also in vendor development, also in policy making along with the associations. And he is a graduate in mechanical engineering and postgraduate in tool design and project management. So over to you, Vasu, for your thoughts.
First of all, thank you very much for the panel, for the invitation from QCI as well as DPIIT. It is very interesting subject, and it is a need of the hour, which government coming up with the very best policies, this particular challenge industry. First of all, selecting this industry as a challenging, one of the champion, sector, that is very, very appreciated. And I again thank you for the government initiation as well as DPIIT for this selecting as a air conditioning product as a champion industry. Why? First of all, before going to the subject and all, air conditioning is a need of the hour. If any product, any manpower, working manpower, whether it is an office or in a factory, we should be work in a good environment condition, then you're able to deliver a good productivity. That means the conditioning of the space is very much required. Unfortunately, India as in today, very, very less penetration in terms of air conditioning, for the spaces. it is estimated around 5 to 6% penetration in the household, as well as a little bit more in commercial applications. So coming to the point, how India Atmanirbhar and how India manufacturing will be, taken into the world. The one of the point of question is that quality and productivity is a very important point. The basic thing is that what is quality? Quality, there are various definitions saying that it is conformance to specifications, conformance to standards, and someone says that it is fitness for the purpose. Someone says that it is a customer satisfaction and customer delight, and customer delight with the product and services. So it is ultimately the product which the consumer chooses, it should deliver what he requires. That is the main point with the quality. Coming to the productivity, what is the productivity says is that how much input you give, whether it is material, man, or machinery, what kind of input you give, what is the output you are giving. It is basically a ratio between the input to output. It is called productivity, and productivity is one of major technology. It defines not only a company, it defines in national wide. If an industry productivity grows, a national GDP grows. It is a direct linkage. So productivity is very, very concerned. Now, if I say that the productivity and the quality, these both are interlinked, it's having a positive relationship. When I say positive relationship means if the best quality of product is there producing with a minimal defects on a production line or in a manufacturing process, you can able to achieve a better quality and better productivity. So the productivity and quality again interlinked in this. So it means less rejection, it leads to the better productivity. Now coming to how improve this quality, whether there is a quality of components which is assembling into the product, which is going to the product, or quality of the processes, quality of the manpower, quality of the machinery, and it all combined together. It comes to the lead to the good product coming out from the factory, coming out from the manufacturing facility. So there are 4 or 5 parameters, whether it is, as I explained, 4 or 5 parameters. And when we have a produce in a high quality product, the productivity improves, and which leads to the to the competitiveness of the product. When you have a less number of rejections, automatically your cost will go down, and you will improve the productivity in such a way that so your competitiveness goes up, and it produced at a quality level such a way that it meets the particular specification or standards. Now coming to room air conditioning industry, how it evolved. If you see in 2010, before there is no any mandatory regulations. Of course, BIS standard is there. Earlier used to be government. There is a procurement cell. Now it's called GEM cell. They used to the BIS mark is there, and some specific requirement only the product will be qualified for that, and it is not a mandate. In 2008, 9, and 10, the Bureau of Energy Efficiency started a regulation called MEPS, that is the minimum energy efficiency ratio, which is in line with the IS standards and efficiency levels. From there, it starts actually. I can say that is a start point that room air conditioning industry has started knowing that how to manage that quality and how to meet those stringent specifications by the Bureau of Energy Efficiency. There, the tolerance limits are 5%. You have a ultimate and the cooling performance, and as well as the power consumption. Both are there is a limitations. So then the industry started working on it and more to meet that. And initially it was in a voluntary phase, then as a mandatory. Now almost 5 times the standards have been revised, and recently there is quality control order which delivers which mainly says that manufacturing facility should be approved, and your process should be approved, and each and every component should be meet to the standards. So this all brings to that, there is a lot of awareness. As rightly said, Bambure-san, that the standards, the regulations, which is keeping that industry forefront, and those regulations will bring that new products in coming to the line, coming to the consumers, and ultimately, the market will grow up. So coming to now the new initiations taken by the government, where it is whether it is a PLI program or any other programs, which helps that Indian manufacturing will take up to the next level, and it can take and carry forward.
Vasu, you have got only 1 minute left.
Right. So coming to this scenario, in this scenario, what is going to happen when the production goes up and increases, and wherein it can pitch us into the export markets, and still the export versus in other countries compared with China versus India, there is still disability factor is there. But once our country volumes are increased, and with the PLI programs where the sustainable, the local component production will increase, so it will lead to, competitiveness, and in terms of export markets as well. And India has very large potential, as said by Ashish Kumarji, and certainly it will help next coming 3 to 4 years. Of course, Indian industry will take a step forward and leapfrog. Over to Mr. Mamburi. Yeah.
Thank you, Vasu. You got in all the points that were related to the air conditioning industry, and you have been witnessing it for a long time. Our next speaker and panelist is Mr. Rajendra Mittal, President AIACRA. Mr. Mittal is a president of AIACRA and is the managing director of Mittal International in Delhi. He is associate with All India Air Conditioning and Refrigeration Association for more than 20 years, and he has been serving the Indian industry for last more than 50 years. So over to you for your thoughts. And I'm requesting again that please restrict your this thing for 6 minutes, speech for 6 minutes. Mr. Mittal, please.
Sir, kindly unmute, sir. Mittal, sir, you have to unmute. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Should I start?
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. My name is Rajendra Mittal. I am in refrigeration and trade industry for 52 years, and I started as a trading company for spare parts, and at the moment I am also importing and marketing the refrigeration equipment. And what I understand from the list that I have to speak about the manufacturing and export of the air conditioner and the quality because of the Voltas and Daikin and Samsung, LG, they are having a good quality, but they are all international brands. Only Voltas is the company who is doing the Indian brand and are good quality. And my association does not have any export data of the equipment. My association is mainly for the component, and component there are a lot of component manufacture in a small scale industry, and also there are some component is manufactured by the largest industry, but mostly all the components are manufactured in small scale industry. And I think the quality manufactured by the small scale manufacturers are good, and what I feel is that there are so many good speaker, they can speak about the quality and the thing. Indian market is very big, and our association has a MOU with Chinese Association, Korean Association, as well as the Turkish Association. But mainly, visiting the fair last 10 years, where I am active, very active in the association. I have been president 3-4 times and work for the benefit of our member for increase of the exchange of the dialogue between the two industries in India and international different countries. So I hope that this cooperation will increase, and that will help to improve the air conditioning industry. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Bamuriji, you are on mute. Bamuriji, you are on mute.
Every time. Okay. Our next speaker is Mr. Satish Kumar. Satish is an engineering manager, appliance and HVAC lighting in UL India. He is a mechanical engineer with 19 years experience in product testing, standard certification. Presently, he is managing teams of engineers for testing and certification of appliances, HVAC and lighting products. He is a member of various technical committees of BIS for appliances, HVAC and lighting. I'm sure that when in my opening remarks I told that the technology is changing, and unless and until we have standards in place, it will become very, very difficult to ensure and have a benchmark of what is quality and how we should proceed. So over to you, Satish Kumar.
Thank you, sir. So first of all, thank you to DPIIT for giving us an opportunity to speak about our thoughts on the quality of the standards, regulations predominant in the air conditioning segment in India. And as we all know that standards are very, very important for maintaining the quality, productivity of the equipments, installations, and all other related components associated with the HVAC industry. Standards are considered as the basis of measurement and enhancement of quality and performance of the products. These are the standards are related to different aspects of a product. This could be the safety. This safety means that it could be electrical safety, it could be mechanical safety, it could be fire safety. So standards are developed based on meeting the requirements of safety for all the equipments. Standards are also developed for energy efficiency or the performance requirements. So now the performance is not only about providing a cooling at good energy consumption levels, and that is how the standards have been designed to enhance the performance and energy efficiency of the products. Standards have been devised for sustainability of the product. So we are seeing a lot of regulations with respect to maintaining the sustainability, the environmental conditions, environmental aspects of the products. So like ROHS or REACH. So all of these standards have been developed to enhance the environmental aspects of the products. Now coming to the air conditioners. In air conditioners, it's not only the safety or the performance of the product which matters. Actually, air conditioner is now becoming, it is becoming a everyday usage item for most of the households in India. And so the standards have to be developed according to those requirements. So the standards should also meet safety as well as the performance requirements, both in conjunction. So it is very important that all our standards are aligned to comply both the safety as well as the performance requirements. As we all know that India has developed a very good energy efficiency program, which is already running and was developed and enhanced by Bureau of Energy Efficiency. So this has been in running for a long period now, and I think it is one of the best star level criteria program which has been created globally. And so we take pride into such programs being developed by the government of India with respect to different ministries. However, we also see that there is a requirement of enhancement in the standards for safety. So we are seeing that most of the Indian standards are more aligned towards energy consumption, and that was the need of our at that point of time. Now, as we are growing into the technologies, there is a requirement that these standards should also be enhanced to have more aspects of safety, performance, sustainability to be included into the standards. So as we know that with the emergence of new technologies, for example, variable refrigerant flow, or whether it is hydrocarbon refrigerants, which are also called as flammable refrigerants, there is more need of development of standards which will effectively test and prove those new technologies. As we know that any new technology will bring up some challenges with it. So if we take the flammable refrigerant technologies, so a small leak into a flammable refrigerant can actually cause a lot of fire hazards. So the standards are defined so that it can contain those flammable refrigerant leakage limits, which are also called as LFLs. So there are already standards which are available globally. If we talk with respect to these technologies, whether it is variable refrigerant flow or flammable refrigerants, for example, IEC standards are there. There are UL standards which are there, which talk about all of these new technologies and requirements and the associated risk with all of these. So those standards are providing some kind of proofing, testing to contain those hazards. So, however, we are not looking into those standards exactly to be implemented in India because our environmental conditions or the usage patterns are totally different than what we see globally. So all of these international standards, if we see, has to be aligned with our Indian context and requirements, and accordingly, our Indian standards need to be aligned to. Now, the motto of the standards development is not just a kind of putting some restraint on the manufacturing or the product enhancement. It is the standard development is actually to help the manufacturers enhance the quality of the products and the design of their products. The product quality is not based only on the end product. So if we talk about air conditioner, the air conditioner quality is actually associated with a lot of other components which are there. So if we talk about the compressor or heat exchanger or the motor, so all of these components, when they come together, will actually enhance the product quality. And so the component standards are equally important, which require a lot of emphasis to be put on these. Now, emergence of, say, new BLDC motor technology, ECM motor technologies. So the standards have to be enhanced at the component levels as well. And so this is related to new technologies. Now, if we talk about the energy efficiency standards, there also we see that, yes, our standards have been updated regularly. However, we can actually go at a more higher level than international standards, wherein we can look into having more practical aspects of the energy efficiency levels to be implemented. Like, so if we take any standard, it will have some laboratory conditions identified at which the testing is required to be done, and then based on that we'll arrive at a energy efficiency star level. However, when we go into the market, it will be actually, or at the end user, it will be probably used at some slightly different conditions which was laboratory tested. Though the standards have been updated, like coming of ICR, with these approaches, it is coming to the actual usage conditions, but we can actually still look to improve on those aspects as well. Now, to become Atmanirbhar India, we are looking for the standards to be implemented effectively and developed effectively through robust conformity assessment programs. So which should include not only the product testing at the first stage, but also through a continuous surveillance mechanism which has to be there. In this aspect, the government is taking a lot of efforts, and we have seen recently that quality control order for air conditioner its components has been released and which is going to be effective from January 2020. So these kind of programs will actually enhance the product quality, and we look forward to for more such conformity assessment programs. So for safe, secure and sustainable product meeting global standards, we need effective implementation, development of standards and the quality infrastructures. All of these form the basis of the quality and standards development in the country. As far as we are concerned, so we are committed to, UL is committed to providing the necessary support in developing the infrastructure through development of standards, testing laboratories, certification schemes, and research in new technologies. For example, flammable refrigerants, which is still undergoing a lot of design, or we can say that analysis, which is being done, modeling is done, and we would like to contribute to the industry, and we are doing it regularly. So we at UL will be happy to work in conjunction with manufacturers and regulators, leveraging our experience of 125 years in standards development and implementation. So thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Satish, for your excellent covering why standards are important, how they help in a long term, how and the contribution that UL is doing. I would now request the next speaker to speak, Mr. N.B. Pant. N.B. Pant heads R&D of an AC division of IFB Industries Limited, Goa. Mr. Pant has got 34 years plus industrial experience, both in Indian and multinational companies. So over to you, Pant.
Thanks for the opportunity to share my views. Already I could see a question in the chat that why we are importing, why not manufacturing domestic. Well, to answer this, to establish a brand India, we need to take the quality to the next level, as Mr. Bombay told earlier also. And to achieve this, we need a quality and competitive supply base for air conditioner segment. If you take any typical inverter, which is growing segment in room air conditioners, the key component like electronics, compressors, valves, and motors are the almost 50% of the bill of material. So it is very imperative that we need to establish a quality supply base. Just to give an example, for electronic boards, simple items like connectors, chip resistors and capacitors, film capacitors, through-hole resistor, all those passive components, also we are depending on import market now. So there should be an ecosystem to establish maybe MSME level or whatever it is. We have to have a good quality supply base and cost competitive supply base in India. So one of the electronics is very key for the inverter models. And the next example, the compressors. The compressor technology also improving from single rotary to twin rotary, etc., etc. But if you consider the supply base within India, it's not even meeting, say, 1/5 of the production. So what happens is we are still depend on the import. We need to promote the local supply base and manufacturing sector as regards to inverter compressors. Even if you take components like valves, the service valve is very critical one in terms of installation and performance for the product. We need to have high quality service valves, which needs to be developed within India also. And not only mechanical service valves, even electronic expansion valves, which is required for meeting a high energy requirement. So those components need to be developed, promoted within India to establish a good quality product, short lead time, and the proper inventory management. So these are the steps we need to take as a part of building brand India with regards to air conditioner segments. So to promote these things, one has to enter into AC, say, industry, then people learn, and by the time they deliver, it takes a lot of time. So one of my suggestions could be, it should be built into in our curriculum itself in graduation, for example, 3rd year, 4th year. We should build all these aspects, how the industry is getting impacted, and how we should be, how should we focus to establish our own products, quality systems, to take the products to the next level, to build up brand India. So that's some of the thoughts which I can put across now. So I will not take much more time. We will go along and then I'll respond later on this.
So thank you, Mr. Pant, for bringing out a completely different angle of the quality of the component and how it impacts. You also came out with electronics, that is how it is important, and how the smallest components also we are still dependent on imports. Though at a large we have been discussing of import of fully assembled products, but now we are saying that the components are same. Now I will jump the sequence so that we have certain continuity of the discussion. And I would now request Daljit Singh to come up and give his thoughts. Daljit Singh is Managing Director of Amber, and he is the largest air conditioning manufacturer, one of the largest air conditioning manufacturers, very well vertical integrated. Daljit is a bachelor degree in electronics and engineering in Nagpur University and a master's degree in information technology. He's on board of Amber and over 12 years of experience. He knows the finer aspects not only of technology but also of the business. And we would like to hear from you. Specifically, what do you think is the role of MSMEs in building the quality of our products? Over to you, Daljit.
Sure. Thank you, Bambureji, and good evening, everyone. And my name is Daljit Singh, and I am Managing Director of Amber Enterprises. We are the largest OEM and ODM solution provider for air conditioning industry, and also one of the leading component solution provider for this industry. Thank you for such a wonderful opportunity, and thanks to DPIIT and QCI for organizing such a webinar with the really core quality and productivity. This is really a need of an hour. And also thanks to DPIIT and government for choosing air conditioners as one of the champion sectors, and also bringing in various initiatives such as PLI, ban of refrigerant, filled air conditioner, QCO, and further discussion on PMP is going on. All these initiatives are really boosting the local manufacturing of air conditioners and surely creating local ecosystem of its component. Today, as Bambureji mentioned, my core focus over here is the role of MSME and their challenges for the air conditioner industry. So if you see today, for any manufacturer or brand, the quality of product can only be defined by the quality of the supply chain and its components thereof. Quality of product is defined, by the components which are used in the product. Today in air conditioner, MSME plays a very, very pivotal role, as many major components, though some components like major component like compressor, copper, aluminum are imported and are base commodities, but all other components are primarily supplied by MSME. So MSME actually plays a very, very pivotal role over here. In today's world, competition is not between the businesses actually. I feel that the competition is between the supply chain and respective quality. Poor quality increases the cost. If you do not have effective quality control system in place, you may incur the cost of analyzing non-conforming goods or services to determine the root causes and retesting product after reworking. In some cases, you may have to really scrap the defective products and pay additional production costs to replace them. Without reliable quality control in place at component level and design level, we as industry will really waste time, resources, and money. Our production costs will not be optimized, and we'll be forced to rework processes too many times, and will fail audits for the global competition. So if this continues and affects the quality of product, client will definitely look for another partner to work with. So today, if you see, as MSME, is an important pillar of Indian economy. It contributes greatly to the growth of Indian economy with a vast network of around 30 million units, creating employment to about 70 million, manufacturing more than 6,000 products, contributing about 45% to manufacturing output. MSME is really the backbone of any industry today. Though government has really taken and done a fantastic job through its policy making and bringing the MSMED Act 2006, which seeks to facilitate the development of these enterprises as also enhance their competitiveness. It provides further first ever legal framework of recognition of concept of enterprises. Despite all these above policy making, MSME faces a lot of challenges for which I feel there is a more room to address, and government should work more towards easing policy to address the same. First and foremost challenge for any MSME is availability of funding and cost of capital. While interest rates are at rock bottom, and thanks to Government of India and RBI initiatives in current scenario, but still the ease of making the funding availability for MSME is a big challenge. More bigger challenge than availability is the tenure of funding. We are in a global competition. We are competing with giants like from China and Thailand, Malaysia and Japan. While in China and Thailand and other countries, the tenure of loans is usually 12 to 15 years minimum. While in India, MSME cannot enjoy such long tenures. So this seriously impacts the capability of any MSME to invest in right infrastructure and right technologies, which can otherwise bring in a lot of quality, consistency and productivity. Third challenge is infrastructure. Many MSMEs, due to lack of funding, do not invest in the right infrastructure for quality and for manufacturing, and hence become uncompetitive, or they produce bad quality. The final, I would say the fourth challenge, which is lack of training and availability of skilled manpower. Mr. Pant also mentioned the same. Quality institutions must be engaged over here through some policy making, where training related to productivity, quality should be conducted. Various councils, if you see in auto segments such as National Productivity Councils, are engaged. So my thought is that why not engage National Productivity Council kind of organizations for air conditioner industry also, and they can actually address the issues and do in-depth study of productivity, cost of poor quality at component level, and thus make an action plan to address the same. While Government of India plans its own action to address above challenges of MSME, we as industry must also come together. Many of the brands who are manufacturing globally can help raise the eye level of MSME component ecosystem through global benchmarking. Separately, a collaboration with local ITIs to have HVAC-based curriculum with the focus on quality, productivity, and other basics would surely help MSME industry to get the manpower with right skills for entire industry. The curriculum for ITIs can be designed by various industry bodies and who understands HVAC as a subject. I also was benchmarking once Vietnam and Thailand, how they are doing. A program called SCORE, which is sustaining competitive and responsive enterprise kind of program, which is on the Global International Labour Organization program, can also be initiated for this industry. So many of the organizations based out of Vietnam and Thailand could see their productivity and quality enhancements by almost 50% using such platforms. So having an efficient MSME is very, very important. It's a backbone of entire supply chain, be it component supplier, be it service provider, such as logistics or after sales provider, or be it distributor retailer. I'm sure if the inefficiencies of MSME segments are addressed through various government and industry intervention, not only we shall enhance the quality of product to next level, but also enhance the productivity and thus become globally more competitive. So that's pretty much I have to say over here. Over to you, Bambureji.
Thank you, Daljit. And you covered a very wide spectrum, giving not only stating the issues which are there, but also trying to give the solutions. Thank you for that. Now coming, I'll just shift to Sudeep Bhattacharya. Sudeep comes with 31 years industry experience, and he is presently working as a senior vice president in Daikin. All of us know that Daikin is leader in air conditioner, and they are known for their quality. They are known for their technology advancement. Sudeep, a specific thing, how you are integrating your learnings or the best practices that are there in Japan and bring it here. And what are your thoughts of, again, how do we create an infrastructure both for the MSME quality as well as the culture? Because we know Japanese very strongly believe in building the culture for the engineers, for the workmen, for everybody. How do you build a quality culture? Your thoughts, please. Sudeep, you'll have to unmute yourself.
Oh, am I audible now? Yeah. Yeah, okay. So thanks, Bamburiji, and good evening to everybody. Dr. Ashish Kumar from DPIIT and Mr. Arul from QCI for inviting me in this forum today. I have been with this industry for a very long time, 3 decades, and all through in manufacturing. So I will, touch upon some subjects of manufacturing and try to bring in some other angle as to what does it mean for us for quality and for productivity. Since we are dealing directly with residential customers in a B2C scenario, visual quality is of paramount importance to us. Now, starting with quality, the parameters that comes up in my mind first is there are 2 aspects of quality which requires our focus. One is performance related and the second one is physical related or physical or visual quality related, which has got everything to do with fit and finish of a product. So firstly, it's utmost important that we produce our products which are required by customers' need and we deliver what we say. We have few performance indicators in terms of cooling or heating capacity and the corresponding power drawn, which matters the most. It's our obligation to the customer and to our society at large that we do not compromise on our design or input raw materials quality, materials weight and its volume, etc. So which are required for achieving the desired result. As you know, that manufacturing is all about it has generally a tolerance level, and a batch or a lot size of our equipments may lie on one side of the mean. Now, this does not give us the liberty to always remain on the lower side of the mean. We need to build a culture in the industry to make our design so that we can remain equally on either side of the mean, which is, and that should be also within the acceptable tolerance. We in Daikin, this is our culture, and we never compromise, however rough it makes our day. And we tend to sometimes over-design to remain on the positive side of the mean, and we have no authority to alter this philosophy at all. Now let's come to fit and finish, and what does it mean for making our Indian brands global class? This is absolutely an item, in my view, that makes a brand look like an international quality. And mostly the Indian brands lack in this consciousness to identify very minute variance from standards. For an example, I'll give you a couple of examples. Say a cable tie, which is used to fasten a wiring assembly. Now that can be fixed up at maybe 5 places around that wiring assembly. But there could be only one place which can soothe the eye, and that too technically it should satisfy the positioning of the cable tie. But we need to know that location, and we need to have the eye to find out which location exactly that cable tie should be used. Some other example that you say, we in air conditioners we use a lot of insulation or a sealing material. Now a sealing material or an insulation can be inserted in a gap between 2 sheet metal parts in an ugly and a twisted manner, and it can be very nicely packed as well in that gap. So we need to know what would look international and what is not acceptable outside India. While the first way may be quite okay here in India, and we may not notice it, but it may not be pleasing a customer, say in Middle East or maybe in some other countries, other parts of the world. So if we dig deep into the reasons of such lack of culture of ours, a big reason that I find is the seasonality of our business, that we deploy a very large number of temporary workforce during January through May every year. And these people are hired on generally very hurry, largely inadequately trained, and they all know that they will have to depart after a few months, facing uncertainty thereafter. So it's widely known that the demand of our HVSR products taper down after the season time, and it's impossible to retain a very large workforce throughout the year. The industry has a responsibility to smoothen the seasonal spikes by producing uniformly throughout the year and do storage of finished goods. This increases our supply chain cost to a large extent. We accept this, but it eliminates the possibility of poor fit and finish, poor quality and productivity. And also at the same time, the related rework cost, the cost of wastage and rejections, and many field issues. From our experience, we have found out that generally the incremental cost of poor quality and the related loss of productivity can be as high between 2% to 3.5% in excess of the cost of storage and the supply chain and logistics cost. It can be much more than that. Daikin follows a principle of doing uniform production throughout the year, and we can afford to invest on training on temporary workforce very heavily. Brazers, fitters, welders, electricians are trained by our factory, and they are sold at a premium salary in the job market. This is all because of our unwavering commitment towards quality. Promoting and another small suggestion is that as an industry, we must promote heat and cool air conditioners, which can easily replace our small oil heaters, which are easily costing about 8 to 10,000 rupees, and it also occupies a lot of floor space. So those numbers can really add up in the non-season time and add our volumes. Now, as we try to find out the solution for this peculiar problem of the industry, as India is going global and the positive nudge is there and the push is there from the government to enable us to look for alternative markets around the world, that's also a very good thing. India has no option, and I would say that it's in best position to place itself as a global supplier of consumer durable and consumer electronics to some part of the world, like the two-wheeler industry. We may not be as strong as China in manufacturing and capturing the mature markets like Europe, USA, Japan, but we definitely have an adequate capability to produce for Africa, Central Asia, Middle East, Latin America, these places. Diversification of our market to get orders throughout the year will evenly load our factories, and a steady workforce can understand the importance of quality and productivity standards in a much better manner. So, as all manufacturers around the world, as they are looking for China plus one policy for manufacturing, India can really capture a part of this market, and this would really bring down our seasonality factors. And the key to capture this opportunity would be quality and productivity of our workforce, who are well trained and they have no seasonal job worries. This can only come when we become conscious and really nitpickers on fit and finish and ensure cooling and heating energy performances that is really committed to our end customers. That's all I have to say today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sudeep, and you definitely brought out a self-discipline, as well as brought on completely a new factor of a fit and finish, because perceived quality of a product is is what is pursued by the customer, and if performance remaining same, if the fit and finish, the important other aspect is noise level of air conditioners. If that is in place, customer feels that it is a higher level quality. You also brought in the importance of training and investment in training, and most importantly, not compromise on what goals we have set for the quality. So thank you very much. Now I'm moving to Vikram Murthy. Vikram Murthy, Director, Univac Environment Systems Private Limited. He holds a bachelor degree in technology and electrical engineering in IIT Kanpur and has got 45 years plus experience. Over to you, Vikram.
Thank you, Jitendra. So, am I audible, Jitendra?
Yes, very much.
Yes. So, I thank QCI for calling us over here, and I represent what my years of experience have been, and also the Society of ISHRE, which is very well known to you, which has over 15,000 members across India. So, while listening to all the speakers before me, and also listening to the opening comments by Ashish Kumar, who highlighted the importance of the interlinking between quality and productivity. So I'm going to touch upon these two aspects while focusing on the fact that quality is determined by standards and their application, while productivity is largely governed by very good training. So I will first touch upon some aspects of standards and whether we have enough facilities for certification. So I am confining my comments during this, my comments over here to the large volume of air conditioners, which is in the residential sector, or we call what we call room air conditioners, which might also be in commercial, but they form 80% of the air conditioners sold in India. So these lot of air conditioners, really speaking, have standards which are reasonably well in place, and they have been in place for a very long time. And also more recently, because of the application of the labelling programs of BE, all these air conditioners have been assured of their quality by self-declaration, self-testing, check testing, and so on and so forth. And most of the manufacturers, in fact, all of them have laboratories where these can be certified. I'm not going to speak about larger air conditioners because that's another subject altogether. So then let me go further from this to talk about the next aspect, which is all about, shall we talk about productivity, because productivity is related very much to training and very much to the quality of training and very much to the, as Sudeep spoke about the attitude and about the culture of training. So many years ago, I visited Germany, this probably over 15 years ago, and over there I visited the Museum of Science and Technology, and I was very curious to understand the whole aspect of vocational training over there. So I did visit the vocational training, shall we say, a college over there. And the main aspect and the most noticeable thing which I was able to observe, and which is the practice in Germany, is the fact that the vocational training is in the classroom as well as it is at the same time along with industry, which has been practiced in India over here for a large number of years, maybe 20, 25 years ago. But more recently now, there is less of that, because the fact that is air conditioners, which we call split air conditioners, and the large volume of air conditioners being sold, they are manufactured and ready to ship out. And thereafter, they are installed by after sales people or aftermarket people in the field who might be trained or who might not be trained. Certainly, the high quality dealers of companies are well trained, but this may not be the fact by a large number of others who are not. And this is one of the major lacunas of our industry, that our products are not ready to use as window air conditioners were many years ago. Now we have air conditioners which needed to be fitted in the field, and a large portion of their components like piping and refrigerant and other aspects of the installation have to come from the aftermarket. And so their training requires a very big input in terms of the quality of training and the type of training. So there are certain very easy ways in which we can fix this problem, but they require a lot of collaboration amongst many of us who are here on this program. So one of the first ones which I wish to touch about is the ITIs, which have been established in India right after independence. And there are about 14 to 15,000 of them in India today. out of which 2,000 are government or quasi-government, but around 12,000 are in the private sector. So these train young boys and girls for special skills to be absorbed by industry, but they don't have enough interaction with industry. This is the major lacuna of them. So I'm proposing that, as it is in other countries of the world, including Japan and in Germany, which I just mentioned, also in the United States, that industry must get together with ITIs. So organizations such as Rama and Rata should get together, and we should look at the ways in which we can have the same old philosophy for which ITIs were formed many years ago, that there should be an interaction, but who is being trained over there, and where does he get absorbed, and where does he learn a skill. Our industry certainly has very good training, as Sudeep told us. As I know, my employer many years ago, without naming that employer, one of the old companies of India, was also the company which Mr. Bamburi represents, have a long history of doing training for their own manufacturing people in the form of vocational training. And so they develop very good skills in them. They teach them and they get absorbed into manufacturing. So I would say manufacturing has very good capabilities, but installation and service doesn't have those capabilities. And the problem is we are not able to realize enough money from the customer for these aspects of the work, which is something we have to address, and that has to be either by policy or by practice. So vocational training institutes are also there in the private sector. A large number of them work very well in Maharashtra, Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, and some other states. And then another organization which was recently formed was the Electronic Skills Sector Council of India, which is a not-for-profit organization, which includes air conditioning. So this has a curriculum. They are franchised out their training to a large number of private sector people, but the quality of training is not up to the mark. So over there again, interaction is very much required. Or as Daljit suggested, we must have a separate skills sector council for our air conditioning industry. And I'm willing to join a group of people present over here, and also ICRA and Rama and so on, that we have to approach the government to form a skills sector council for the air conditioning industry and not club it along with the appliance industry as it is today over now. So there are large private sector aggregators too, such as a company called the Urban Company, which does a lot of skills. A lot of skilled people are aggregated and they go and do the work in the field. They have their own training facilities, but not adequate because they're aggregating people who are not employed by them. So there's a need for training for them that can be done by digital technology, by some other means. And then finally, we have companies which have dealerships. And these companies which have large number of dealers are training their dealers' employees well. But the major portion of installers and after sales are in the aftermarket. So finally, I have to come to the last part of my talk, which is an important one, is about spreading the skill to colleges. So here's which I want to say, that ISHRE has a large number of colleges where we have student chapters. So we are willing to look at the program where industry can help us to teach people in colleges about the skills of electronics, about automation, about mechatronics, and we can have such courses introduced, and these will really raise the skill of engineers in our country to do very good manufacturing work. So I will contribute more to this a little later. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vikram. You completely touched on the different aspect. Now I'm coming to, I jumped Rahul Ramtekkar because I'm expecting that Vimal Tandon will also join in, but I don't think it. So Rahul, over to you. Rahul works in Johnson Control Hitachi, specifically Hitachi, and he is in charge of looking at the standards requirement of the country, of their company, based on the international standards. Rahul is BTech graduate in mechanical engineering and MTech postgraduate in design engineering through IIT Mumbai. Over to you, Rahul. I would request Rahul, we have got only 2 speakers now, to be short and precise so that we get sufficient time for the audience questions.
So definitely, sir. So I will be more qualitative than quantitative, as you said. IS and industry, as well as other organizations like BWE, DPIIT, that we can see the current state of HVAC standards are far more better than what they used to have some 20 years ago. And however, going ahead, we feel we need to put more smart efforts where industry and standards both will drive each other to the next level. So if you see, regulatory quality normally requires management of existing regulations and the flow of new regulation to sustain the growth. Regulations may easily become out of date. Regulations may easily become out of date due to due to changes, new technologies, etc., and they create unnecessary burdens on industry. So while standards get improved through regular updates, the structure of standard normally remains the same. Most of the international standard, if you see now, specify about the critical requirements of performance and safety, leaving aside the details of construction materials, etc., to the manufacturer. This basically allows manufacturer to innovate further to bring the cost of manufacturing down without compromising on their quality. For example, instead of providing alloy details of the material, safety performance standards should limit to what is ultimately requirement from the overall construction. This will also increase the practical validity of standard for the longer period. Now, the new international standards are also accepting the simulation results of, few valid tools, which allows the ultimate result of, crack test or, distortion test, etc. Then it is further important for industry to come forward with the experience they gained over the year through JVs they have with international brands. So for example, if you see, Hitachi was a very first industry to come up with the IDUs fully made in India. That was, we believe that we were having our own technology which came with Hitachi Japan, as well as our willingness to adapt to be the first for change, where nobody was expecting at that point of time. These learnings needs to be converted into recommendations instead of directly putting it into the mandatory standards. That will definitely help in bringing down that IP related issues. So if it is recommendations from the BIS or any other government agencies, that will be considered as recommendations, and there will be a scope for innovation as well. Further, we need to learn from the international standards and alignment drive. At the same point of time, industry needs an appropriate time to change over instead of making compromises to the lack of changeover time. See, here the cost analysis of changeover of regulation should be estimated in advance. So this I feel somewhere it is lacking, that cost estimation. So what happens if we change suddenly in 1 year, or what happens in 3 years? Or on the other hand, what happens if we don't change? At the same time, we should check the time delay due to its implementation. So this mechanism we need to bring through somehow. I know there is an eminent panel over here, they can think better on this. So this, if we do, this will keep all stakeholders on toes to improve the pace of changeover. So it will improve, and it will put the optimum pace to that. Last but not the least, I will be very short in this. So in addition to that, industry professional, say like me, I just got introduced to BIS meetings or maybe all standard changing processes. I got trained over the time through these meetings, etc. But if BIS can put a standard, say, training program wherein the nitty-gritties of standard making in itself can be provided to us, that will be definitely helpful in bringing industry professionals. They are expert in the technology, not in the standard making process. So if you are trained into the standard making process, then it will definitely bring the overall output, overall technology pool, as well as the quality of standard in a better shape. In addition to that, regular discussion can be held between, say, BIS, standard making bodies, and the industry to improve this process itself. Nowadays, meetings can be more fast, decisions can be more fast. So we need to question the time for decision making in improving standard regulation, etc. This will definitely improve the pace, what I feel, of overall standard making, and also bring out the quality where it is required, not at all points. So that's all from my side. Hopefully I'm short.
Yes, thank you, Rahul. Thank you. You covered it very well. You covered the aspects of what is the current situation. Though we have improved a lot in upbringing the standards, the process of standard is something which you touched on, and more importantly, align with the international practices of performance and safety, and not the construction. So thank you very much. And I'm going to Ms. Ritu Ghosh. Ritu is Head of Corporate Affairs and CSR in Panasonic India. And she has got a lot of other background, but I'm not getting into it. I'm sure Ritu is going to speak something on policies. Of course, you can speak on other topics also. But over to you, Ritu.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So a very good afternoon to everybody. Dr. Ashish, my colleagues from the industry. And
Ritu, if you can be slightly louder.
Slightly louder. Okay. Am I audible now? Okay, wonderful. So as rightly pointed out by Dr. Ashish, that AC has got a potential which is really, really high. So today AC is one of the champion sectors which are going to be playing a major role in the story of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Why is AC uniquely placed as far as the Indian context is because of two reasons. One, obviously, because of the low penetration currently, there's a scope of very, very high penetration and rising urbanization. But also from the exports perspective, if we see, India is uniquely positioned from the factor that there is a similarity in the product preferences, especially with the European, Southeast Asian and African markets. And also the duty structure, the imports duty vis-a-vis the other countries which are leading. We have two leading countries, and India towards the European markets, India is best placed. So these two factors specifically create a lot of potential which can be unleashed. Now, recently we have seen that PLI with its budgetary outlay which has been announced for AC, and the guidelines are soon expected, is a really, really key enabling factor for meeting up the disability. However, in the previous few months, what we have seen have been game-changing has been with respect to the approach taken both by the industry and the government, which has been a collaborative and a holistic approach. And I would like to thank DPIIT for enabling this in the concentrated efforts of the journey many months back. All aspects which could hamper the manufacturing or which could enable the manufacturing were considered, be it with respect to procurement issues, supply side issues, demand side issues, scale or technology. And so there was a holistic aspect which came into picture, and more so even from the industry, it stood together in a collaborative way where associations like FICCI, RAMA, CMA came together, and today we can see the outcome is that it's one of the potential which was there could be unleashed. And now further journey that lies is that if the same approach, which is a focused, holistic, and the approach towards the collaboration can come together even when we see the ground implementation happening. So from that perspective, I would also want to put light with respect to quality. The way we see quality today, it's according to me very similar to the value chain which is there in production, which means it also has those phases and stages starting from standards, moving on to designing of standards, articulation of standards, then its implementation with respect to plugging those standards in the product design, and then implementation from the administrative perspective. So in that sequence, if we can take an approach, I think it will add to having a predictable scenario for the industry. Predictability, as we can see, which PMP can bring, which was a reflection in the budget announcements for AC. The predictability in the duty structure, similar predictability if followed with respect to the implementation of standards, I think the quality would be much better implemented with an approach that can be really, really successful. It would also reduce the lead time for the product introduction along with the cost on ground, and could be a big enabler which we are looking as to break the barriers towards high productivity. Secondly, I would like to throw some light towards the export. During the deliberations, I think a Thailand model for exports can be very, very well considered. We know in Thailand there was a 7-year investment strategy program that spanned across 2015 to 2022, wherein the initial dependency on the imports for the components in Thailand was very high. And also the export footprint was very, very minuscule. But post the launch of that particular program, we can see that Thailand right now captures 25% of the global finished goods market, and the dependency towards the import of components and other materials has really gone down to just 10%. 90% it's the domestic procurement market. So there can be a recommendation that at this juncture, we can have a export body which can deliberate on such best practices as of Thailand. With that, I would also like to add that technology is a great enabler. And as Panasonic for ACs, we are always committed towards introducing technology integrated with the ACs. Recently, we have come up with Mirai technology for connected homes, where AC is connected to the extent that it provides a seamless experience to consumers with respect to automated diagnostics. So with those kind of technology advancements, and also it's fitted with nanotechnology, which inhibits viruses and bacteria, including COVID-19 viruses. I think with that kind of focus on technology, we can do a much value add and become a leader as India. So that's from me. From my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Ritu. You completely touched the different aspects. Now, all our speakers are have completed their, the narration and their views. I would like to ask, what are the top 3 initiatives which we should take to take the quality and productivity of the Indian air conditioning industry to the next stage? Because these finally we discussed a lot, but if something has to be picked up, top 3. So this is open to all the speakers. You can raise your hands and just speak out.
Yeah. May I come in, Bambure?
Yes. Please be short, all of you, because we have to have time for the speakers.
Some of few points I got note from the speakers. Number one is that industry and institution alignment. As Mr. Vikramurthy also said, and many other speakers also said, so that need to be enforced. Number one, very, root level, we need to dig it out, whether it is ITIs, polytechnics, or engineering colleges, more on to industry specific, specifically this challenging, this champion industry, which is grow multifold in next coming years. That is number one. Number two, when you call about the quality, there is a quality and a production or quality and the service. So this specifically air conditioners are not fit and plug and play kind of product. It needs installation, it needs a service. So those level, the training is very, very important, specific to that low end jobs. For example, if you compare with India, in India, installation cost of split AC is about $15 to $20, whereas in other countries, developing or developed countries, it costs around $75 to $150. So that area, one of the area, but we need to have kind of certification of these technicians in a grassroots level and to take up that quality into the next level. Third one is in exports. Really, there is a need of looking to how India brand to be sent to global level. What are the areas? One of the areas is 3F level. That is feel, fit, finish. One of the point. And standards, of course, we are at par. We are, of course, bringing in the India-specific and all. But the thing is that export policies, we need to deep dive. I think I feel these 3 points need to be noted down. Thank you.
Anybody else wants to comment? Maybe Daljit, you want to?
Yeah, Mr. Bambure, if I may come in, just to add what Vasuji has mentioned. One of the prime important part of being export competitive is the standards as the UL certifications and CE certifications and all that. So I think so today India really lacks, and also we have seen this in the implementation of QCO. Where India is actually and is lacking the infrastructure for right labs as well as the speed with which the certifications are done is very, very important for us to be globally competitive. So I think so the steps which we have taken as industry as well as the initiative taken by DPIIT in terms of the QC implementation is fantastic steps. But to really implement that and have the right infrastructure at the back is very, very important. And on the same side, on the global side also, certifications are required. And if you look into like China manufacturing and Thailand manufacturing, which Rituji also mentioned, they have their own global setups and global infrastructures over there, where the certifications and all that can be done on a speedy way. And at the very reduced cost. So that I think so a government intervention should be done where it should be made mandatory that the third party labs should be actually having all the infrastructure right here and the decision making should be here in order to make us globally competitive. Bamburi, you're on mute.
So one more question is if we have to take this quality and productivity improvement program, how much should be the duration? Should it be 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? And should it be considered as a separate something like a mission? What are your thoughts on this?
So, Sir Satish this side, may I come in, please?
Yes, please.
So, from perspective of the quality and certifications and standards, if we look, so generally it is an ongoing process and there is no definite end to this process. However, coming to specific requirements, I think we should be formulating a process wherein it needs some revisions every year or something based on the feedbacks from the industry. So because generally if we see the regulations also revise every 2 years, they change the methodologies of the testing based on the market conditions and requirements. And that also trickles down to revision in the standards and regulatory environment, which is required to be constantly updated.
Anybody else?
Yeah, this is Ritu here.
Yes, Ritu.
Yeah, so basically what we are pointing towards is that there can be a collaborated and coordinated approach. One of the challenges that we see is that when we want to comply or implement some of the quality standards, we go back and forth in the sequence of the factors which are dependent, like availability of labs or standards are still coming up. So if there can be a coordinated approach, it will be really help, and that can be taken up as a mission for improvement as an ongoing approach with a little accelerated focus in the beginning.
So do all of you feel that we are now getting into a phased manufacturing program, which is a 5-year program, and should not the quality and productivity program also aligned with it? So Rahul, you want to say something? Please go ahead.
Sir, this is to your previous question. Like instead of putting it in a number of years, we can say as we said, we have a 7.5 million market now. We can target that once we cross say 10 million markets, we will relook into the standards. So normally 10 or say whatever. So we can target those market size, and based on that we can say now we have to change over. So that kind of comparison will be better, I think. So years will be definitely there, maybe 3 years or 4 years or 5 years. But in addition to that, we should also check what is the this change in the market. Like now it is 75 and 7.5, and say maybe like after 20% of growth, we will just look at whether it is after 3 years, 20% and 3 years, we can just cross check what we really need to have a change in these standards or everything.
Jitendra, I have one comment. Okay, fine.
Just go ahead because Bimal has succeeded in joining.
Let's listen to Bimal first and then I'll come back afterwards.
So Bimal, over to you. Bimal is director in Carrier, and he was tied up in some of his global meetings, and he's a known figure in the industry, working closely with many government initiatives also. So over to you, Bimal.
Thank you, Mr. Bambure. I think my apologies to everybody. I think I had to attend this meeting.
Sir, Mr. Bimal, sir, may I request you to switch on your camera, sir?
Okay, I'll do that. Let me switch on. Yes.
Yes, sir. Visible, sir.
Yeah. Is it better now?
Yeah, please go ahead, sir.
Yeah. So, Mr. Bambure, I'll just share a presentation. We did some working on the standards, and we have come long way on the standards in air conditioning, which is, I think, a base for, again, either industry growth.
Just a minute. Vimal, just a minute. We didn't follow the format of PPT. We allowed people to speak because it is already now 5:38, and we have to take few questions also from the audience. So if you can just put forward your views in 5 minutes time.
Okay, great. So what I'll do, I'll just divide the entire talk on standards into 3 major parts. So when we talk about air conditioning, it's a very vast field, right from starting from room air conditioning, going to light commercial, then ducted, VRF, chillers, air terminals, commercial refrigeration, railway coaches, and domestic refrigerators, and vehicles. We have done a lot of work in last few years on room ACs, light commercial products, ducted products, chillers. In last 1 year, I think with the support from BIS, we have been able to start focusing on new upcoming areas, both on VRF standards as well as on the HU standards. Then I'll just explain you how overall standardization process works. If we have to develop a new standard for maybe new Indian standard, or we want to review existing Indian standards, so BIS has got a sectional committee specially focused on air conditioning and refrigeration. And this committee is chaired by Mr. Ravi, who is from IIT Roorkee, and then we have members all across, right from manufacturers, laboratories, academia, consumer groups, government departments, and many experts in their individual capacities. This committee meets at least a couple of times in a year, where they go through a full day agenda. And this time, I think it was not a face-to-face. We had to do in a couple of sittings together. But what we go through is full agenda in terms of reviewing existing standards, what are the gaps, and then coming up with the new standards if we want. And then in this sectional committee, we assign a panel and which looks at the overall standard development in this area. These panel members, again, they are based on their subject matter expertise. They pull information, they co-opt some members who are experts, and they come up with a draft. That draft gets circulated to this committee, and once this committee approves this draft, it goes for the wider circulation. And after wider circulation, when we have comments, again, those comments get discussed and disposed within this panel. And again, a redraft goes to the committee, and finally it goes, after it is clear, it goes for the publishing. So that is how overall standard development process works. I think there are situations all of us are not aligned either within the panels or within the committee, and probably the bottom line that we take, and this direction comes from BIS, is it should be, I think, based on the fact-based data. It should be in the interest of consumers, and it should be based on the feasibility of technologies right now available. And over and above, I think if there is a government regulation, that gets supported through this. So that is where we try to build overall consensus within the either panel members or committee members. Next, I think in last, as I said, a couple of years, we focused a lot on ducted cassettes and room ACs. And with this, I think multiple amendments happened. And in view of, I think, QCO, we had to go back and based on the practicality and based on the feedbacks coming during QCO by BIS, when they visited various manufacturers. So we made those amendments. And I think these standards are now fully available. Another, I think, upcoming area was we had not done significant work on the commercial refrigeration side. That was looked into, and all the standards, I think, key standards were aligned. But still, a lot of work needs to be done in this area. So right now, I think we are done with the chest freezers and basic standards, but we need to do more work in this area. There are a few new areas that were identified were on the VRF and air terminals. So this committee picked up and assigned panel. I think drafts are complete and a few panel meetings have already happened. So we are in the process of, I think, going for a final draft very soon, in maybe coming a couple of months' time. So that way we'll see these two standards as well as coming out of overall derivation. Again, when we talk about, I think, this entire process, sometimes we still have some of the challenges. I think we need to look at more if we want to do and develop a standard which are focused on Indian conditions, probably we need to have some more research funding. Again, the second, I think we don't have a ready-made database. And when we want to develop a standard, we want to look at a standard, how big is the opportunity, how it is going to help overall country or consumers, probably we are not able to do that. So that, I think, something we can look at if we can create and we will be looking forward support from both BIS and DPIIT if we can work on some kind of neutral agencies, because amongst us, most of the places where we have manufacturing, we can't share data. So there should be some neutral agency and where we can put up this data. Again, the third challenge comes when we have to design overall standard based on overall climatic conditions within India. So there is no solid database on the buildings in India is available. Or maybe if we want to improve energy footprint, and then how much of the old air conditions are available. So all of those data are not available. So that is something I think we need to work more and do more on this. And as we move into various sectional committee, BIS and government has been very supportive. We'll put it up and we'll, I think, develop this also. So this will create a solid base for overall standards development within India. These standards will be at par with the overall.
Vimal, BIS and BE also want to put forward the comment. So if you can take 1 more minute, or if you can conclude it.
Yeah. And then last, I think from here, a few upcoming opportunities that we see is again huge water heat pumps for water heating, etc., which might give us good amount of energy saving. And then I think we have more data available which HVACR products are manufactured by MSEB, and we can work on identifying opportunity for development of this in this area. So this is all I think ahead on the standards. So anything which I was a bit fast in the interest of time, but I think I'll pause here.
Okay. You brought on a very important point that funding is required for doing research in the development of standards, and database is very, very critical. These are 2 important points you brought in. So I understand that BIS and BE representative also want to put forward their views. So Arul, if you can help them to, identifying them and let them put forward their views.
Okay, sir. If any of the participants would be willing to ask any pertinent questions, they may raise their questions here, or they may put the question in the chat box itself.
Vikram Murthy wanted to speak, but I understand that I got a message that BIS and BE representative want to speak. So.
Yeah, okay, sir. You may call upon their name and ask.
I don't know their names. Unfortunately.
Okay. Then we can go ahead with Mr. Vikram Murthy's.
See in the chat.
Okay, Jitendra, I am just highlighting 3 points, hearing everybody to try and come to some conclusions, which is the point of our discussions today, because there are so many eminent speakers over here, and we should have some forum which we have discussed today to come to some conclusion. So I wish to say that, as you mentioned in the beginning, the Indian Cooling Action Plan program quite predicts very well the future of India's air conditioning size of market, which is expected to grow 5 times in the next 30 years. Now, 30 years might seem long, but if some of us think back to 1990, it was not very long ago. So if it's going to grow by 5 times, then we have to think that, are we going to become a market where air conditioners are imported to India, or are we going to be a market where we can serve our own domestic market? So I strongly believe that we should be able to serve our own domestic market very strongly, whether it is by manufacturers homegrown in India, or whether by policy. We very, very strongly encourage manufacturers of components as well as air conditioners to manufacture in a much bigger way in India, because our market size is growing. So there has to be a very clear policy discussion and decision on this regard about increasing component manufacturing in India in a very sizable way, because all the giant manufacturers in India are very easily able to ramp up their production. As we already know, it has been stated by Rama as well as leaders of industry that this summer, the leading industries of India, air conditioning, are going to increase their production capabilities by at least 15% for the future. So that's the good thing. So component manufacturing is one big thing which we should attract to India and do it by policy. The other one, which is has been deliberated a lot and which I very strongly advocate, is about skill development. We have spoken about that, and we have to come together as some forums over here of associations and drive that forward very strongly. And the last part is what Vimal Mishra spoke very strongly and he advocated very well about the need for research and development. So I wish to put forward on behalf of ISHRE that we have started a good foundation now which can attract a good amount of funding as well. And so we'll be very happy to join with Rama on standards development. And we will take this forward in the discussion with Rama about the need for a very deep dive into data acquisition as well as to help in the development of standards. Thank you.
Thank you. So over to you, Arul. No. you can take charge of this webinar.
So would you prefer any questions from the participants?
Yes. That's what I said. Over to you. Because
so I don't see any relevant questions per se in the chat box. But some question is like banned refrigerations in India. Some question mark is raised. That is not a full question, I guess. Then there is one more question. If refrigeration is not meeting requirements of standards in India, who will ban BIS, BEE, others? Question mark. So you have to unmute, sir.
I'm doing that. So it is difficult because it has to be banning and taking an action is something which has to be done in a legal framework. So we do know that if it is an air conditioner and if it is a labeling program, there is a proper laid out process. If it is a QCO, there is a laid out process. Though QCO is not implemented. So I'm sure that within that framework, only the actions can be taken. If you talk domestic refrigerators, if you talk room air conditioners, if you talk many other products, they are covered under BE labeling program. Similarly, under QCO, domestic refrigerators, deep freezers, which are commercial refrigeration systems, refrigerators, and room air conditioner, package air conditioners are also covered. So I can only speak on that, or who will take the action.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, please, sir.
Yeah, I don't know why we are not thinking about BLDC driven motors, which can replace all VRV motors.
BLDC motors, just to quickly share, the BLDC motors is a part and parcel of the air conditioning systems, be it VRF, be it high efficiency ducted system, and definitely 5-star room air conditioners. No, and I'm sure that when the next table is going to come in, it is going to be a must. So BLDC motors are already there in India.
It is not there. It is BLDC driven compressors. BLDC driven fans are there. Actually, I'm an electrician from IIT Madras. I got a rich experience. BLDC motor driven compressors not available in our country. There are some.
You are talking of manufactured in India?
No, it's not important. Even we are not using it. BLDC driven motors in our country. Compressors.
I would request the people who are there, because I know that is there. I will request the Daikin person and maybe Vasu to.
Daikin must be importing. Daikin must be importing. Importing from Japan.
So we in Daikin, it's supplied by Nidec India also, which is manufactured in India. BLDC motors are quite widely used in inverters.
BLDC driven compressors, 1.5 tons, 2 tons, like that. Compressors, motors are there.
Regarding compressors already in India.
Inverter compressors are not made in India now. Yeah, definitely. But fan motors are all available.
No, fan motor, our Indian Railway uses only BLDC motor. That I know. So, even your East Coast is using BLDC motor only. I'm talking about BLDC even compressors.
I would put it this way, sir, with the efficiency going up in the next table, it is going to happen. I can only assure you this. Okay.
So, Bambure sir, I can come in and I think Achyutan sir, you're right, but still there are people who are manufacturing these compressors in India. Not 100% are getting manufactured. And there is a trade-off on overall rating requirements that I think design philosophy of individual manufacturer, they put these compressors. But they are being used and they are being used in sizable numbers.
I agree. So Arul, over to you now because we are close. Only 5 minutes left.
Bambure-san,
yes.
Can I have one final suggestion?
Yes. Please go ahead.
Can you please identify yourself, sir?
Vasu from Voltas.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm Vasu again. Since it's a quality, one of the major subject, and products should be produced in a quality such a global level. So there is a recognition in India for a room air conditioner or some other products by BEE. Since last 10 years, BEE is giving an award in every year, the best manufacturer of the year or something like that. So since room air conditioner is the champion product now declared by the DPIIT and the government, so why don't you put one quality, kind of awards in this segment also? Only quality related, not on a performance or anything. On a quality related, we can chart down. We can make that how the award should be. It should be like a global level kind of thing. So that kind of recognition is helpful for a brand. Number one. Also, in level of the technician levels, we should have kind of recognition at the technician levels for the field service also. So the two areas, recognition should be identified and should be awarded.
Okay, so I could add this way to it is to Dr. Ashish Kumar from DPIIT and Arul also. Maybe we can think of drafting a India quality policy, which is it need not be only to air conditioner, but because it should take care of training needs, it should take care of skill enhancement, it should take care of standards, it should take care of how do we take care of MSMEs who play a vital role. More important is fit and finish. How do we? What are the attributes of considering brand India outside India? So that can be thought of as a the quality policy, or whatever you can say, quality and productivity policy can be thought of. Yes, Arul, now you can conclude, please.
Yes, sir. We are finally heading towards the concluding part. Before the formal vote of thanks, let me ask each and every speaker to switch on their cams for a group pic. I request all the speakers, panelists to switch on their cameras so that we can have a has everybody switched on? Great. Just hold on, sir. Just hold on. Shivesh. Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Let me thank Mr. Jitendra Bamburi, sir, for steering the deliberation so well and summarizing the discussion articulatively. I would like to extend our gratitude to Dr. Ashish Kumar, Senior Development Officer, for gracing this event with his presence and setting up the context for the session. I would like to thank our illustrious panelists for deliberating on the issues of quality and productivity in the air conditioners industry. Let me also, request all the experts in the panel to spare some time and provide recommendations and suggestions, whatever that has been deliberated now, as this would help in creating a compendium of quality-related sectoral recommendations, which will be shared with the ministry. Furthermore, I would like to thank all the attendees for being such a fantastic audience. Here I conclude the session. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Amriji.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you. It was a wonderful discussion and lot to learn.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Shivash, you have taken the first right.